Looks pretty good in the frame. All right, welcome back. I guess this would be maybe episode 4. The first episode post ramps. And I thought, you know what? Let's try something that I've never made before. It's sort of the running theme of this show. This year I joined a CSA, which is like a farm share. So weekly I get this like kind of beautiful box of produce, and it's a lot. So to keep up with it, I've been doing a lot of canning and pickling and fermenting. So I thought, well, it would be kind of fun to try to do a kimchi. And I thought we could make like a more traditional kimchi and then something a little bit different using the same methods, just kind of different ingredients. So the traditional kimchi, you're going to use basically a head of Napa cabbage. You can get this at the grocery store or your Asian market. You want to find one that's heavy. It doesn't necessarily matter how big it is in terms of length or size, but you just want a kind of heavy one. We're gonna need some carrots. I have these chives, Asian pear, ginger, garlic, some daikon, an onion. What else? Lots of salt. You're gonna need fish sauce, which is a great ingredient. You should have it on hand. This is like a fermented shrimp paste. Again, found it at my local Asian market. Let's see. Oh, you're gonna need a big bag of Korean chili powder. Try to find the best one you can get. You can find it on the internet or again, your local market. And you're gonna need something to ferment this stuff in. So you can do it in any kind of container that's like non-reactive, so not metal, glass, ceramic, or I guess I've seen it done in plastic. I have some large, like wider mouth mason jars that I had on hand, and I ordered these off the internet. These are basically like fermentation weights. They're just little glass weights. Again, they're non-reactive, and they just sit on top of whatever you put in here. Just make sure that everything is submerged below the liquid. And I also have these lids with air locks. So an air lock, basically, we're doing fermentation, so there's going to be a lot of gas being emitted from the cabbage and everything we have in here because of, you know, microorganisms and good bacteria. If you would seal this shut and you wouldn't let air escape, this would blow up. So an airlock basically allows you to create a seal that allows gas out but no air in. Again, I found these on the internet. You don't need an airlock though with a mason jar. All you have to do is just not tighten this ring down too tight. So it will allow, just get it to catch just enough, just like that. And that will allow air to come out. So I'm gonna make a lot of kimchi, and these jars aren't too big, so we'll probably fill up a few of them, and I'll use the airlocks. I might use some with lids. What else? I have some baby bok choy that I thought might be kind of interesting. And I have, again, this is like all produce that I got in my CSA, and I kind of wanted to use it. So fennel, I don't know if that's going to be any good, but we'll find out. This is green garlic. Seems like it would work. I have all of this red and green kale. And then, I'm not 100% sure what this is. It was sort of just labeled as like an Asian green. It looks a bit different than the Napa cabbage, so I'm not sure. Oh, I also have this really fun thing. Again, found at my Asian market. this is a big tub that you could maybe wash your child in, or your cat, or in this case, put your produce in to salt it. Okay, so there's kind of, from my very limited research, by no means am I an expert in kimchi making, there's kind of two schools. One is you quarter the cabbage and you leave it intact through the entire fermentation process. The other is you chop the cabbage and you basically put chopped pieces in the vessel. I'm going to chop mine only because my containers are relatively small and I won't really get a lot of cabbage in there if I didn't do that. So we're just going to quarter it now. I might remove the outer leaves. They're a little bit wilty. Set those aside. You can use those for something else. So we're going to quarter this. And Napa cabbage has like a very hard sort of stem structure. And we are going to keep that intact for the salting. You can see how that looks when you sort of split it. It's very dense. That's why you want a heavy one. You want to make sure that it's, quite dense. So we're going to rinse this. We're going to rinse all our produce, and then we're going to salt the heck out of it. And the salting process takes actually anywhere from like 90 minutes to 2 hours or more than 2 hours. But basically we're going to salt in between all these layers with kosher salt. This is actually one of my favorite kosher salts. It's just Diamond Crystal. Pick it up. It's like $3 or $4 for, however, 3 pounds. Don't buy little things of salt. Just get a box of it and have it on hand. It's super handy. So yeah, we're going to salt everything over the course of 2 hours. Every 30 minutes, I'm going to kind of massage it. It's going to pull out a lot of moisture from the produce. So in here I have all the cabbage, all the wedges, and then back here I have the kale. Well, there's a little bit of cabbage in here. One little wedge. We'll set that in here. It's not a big deal. So what we're going to do is, you can see that there are all these like layers, and we intentionally did not cut the core out of that, and we want to keep that intact because what we want to do is we want to put salt in between each one of these layers, ample salt. So I'll show you here in a second. Set this right here for now. This is my little salt box. I keep my Diamond Crystal in here. I'm going to do this inside the bucket, but I want to show you this. You can take a pinch, and you're just going to start salting kind of liberally here on each layer. And I'm going to try to not make a giant mess, so I'm going to do that in here. Good pinch in between all these layers. Okay, so that's all the cabbage. I feel like that's pretty good. We're gonna want to do, I want to do the bok choy, which I already rinsed. Just gonna toss this in. What I need to do is I need to start putting in, oh geez, this is all falling apart. I need to start putting in some of this kale. We're just gonna sort of layer the salt on since there's not, it's not intact. Jesus. So every 30 minutes, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna kind of just give it a little, don't beat it up too much, but we're just gonna give it a little squeeze, really lightly. And we're going to flip everything over. Okay, so we'll see you back in about 30 minutes. So it's been about 30 minutes. And there is a lot of water sort of starting to collect at the bottom. I'm not sure if you can really see that. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to sort of kind of massage the kale, just ever so firm, but not too terribly hard. And we're going to sort of flip everything. So the kale will be at the bottom, and then the cabbage will be at the top. Here's the little bok choys that I have. Just going to give those a little bit of a mush. Okay, and that's really it. Just wait another 30 minutes and come back and do it again. Okay, cool. So this has been sitting for 2 hours. Every 30 minutes, we kind of massaged it, flipped it, worked it until it's, pretty tender. It's now sitting here. I rinsed off kind of the excess salt, and it's just sort of draining here. We're going to make kind of 2 different batches. One is going to be a kale based, the other one is going to be the Napa cabbage based kimchi. While that was sort of in its last 30 minutes, I heated up 2 cups of water, 1.5 tablespoons of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of rice flour. And you can get rice flour, actually, hold on. This is rice flour. I got it at the Asian market. So it's 2 cups of water, 2 cups of water, 1.5 tablespoons of just everyday sugar, and 3 tablespoons of this rice flour. You heat that over high heat until everything dissolves. You mix it and you kind of create a slurry. I did that already, so the temperature would be coming down. I don't want that to be hot when we add it to like our chili paste and things. I'm going to use a food processor for the kimchi kind of paste or base. And in here, we're going to add 1 whole onion, which I already peeled. I'm actually going to nip off the root ends here. Kind of a bad spot. And I'll probably just slice that just a little bit smaller for the food processor. So 1 whole onion, and this is kind of a double batch of this. I have basically an entire head of garlic here that I smashed and trimmed and peeled. That's going to go in there. And we need ginger. So this is a piece of ginger root. You can get this at your grocery store. It's pretty common. I think I'm going to kind of cut off kind of 2 knobs. So the way you peel ginger, you can take a spoon and just peel it with this. It's pretty easy. You don't have to like use a knife or anything. The skin comes off pretty easily, and you can trim off any like hard knobs. So that's 1 piece. I'll cut that kind of in half, and we'll throw that in. I'm not being super precise with this. Again, if you have watched any episodes of this show, you know that I'm not that big on giving precise measurements. One, because I don't think they're accurate. I think, and also I don't think it necessarily like teaches you how to cook to follow a recipe. Oops, to follow a recipe precisely. It should really just be about taste and feel. I think recipes are really just guidelines to that. Okay, so let's see. Fermented, these are the next 2 ingredients, right? These are maybe sound like something you never used before. So this is shrimp paste with bean oil. Basically, it's fermented shrimp. It's going to be pretty briny, pretty potent. And this is fish sauce, but it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe like Worcestershire. It's kind of like that sauce where it's adds so much body umami flavor to dishes, but it's not something that you would necessarily like just guzzle. That being said, a lot of Vietnamese sort of dips for spring rolls and things have a fish sauce base, and it's amazing. So we're gonna put a 1/4 cup of this fermented shrimp paste. They make fermented crab paste, you know, try whatever. This is what was available. It smells pretty good. So, okay, 1/4 cup. That goes in. Okay. And then we are going to use a 1/2 cup of fish sauce. I wonder if I can, oh, it has one of these stupid tabs on it, son of a bitch. What does this go to? 1/4 cup. So I'm going to have to do this twice. Okay, there's 1/4. There is another 1/4. Whew, that is potent. Okay, so this is 2 cups of Korean chili flake. It's a lot. I don't know if I'm going to use all 2. I don't know if I'm going to use 1 or 1.5. So I'm not going to go dumping this into the paste yet. I'm going to add this into the paste and slurry mixture after I blend this. You want this to be smooth. Okay, it looks pretty good. It smells pretty good. So I'm going to put about half of this in, I think, right now. And if we want to add more, we can add more with the slurry. It looks great. Okay, like I said, we have more. We can always add it. So this is kind of the slurry that we made. You can see it's kind of pasty, you know. It should, you should be able to like run your finger through it on the back of a spatula. The other, I guess, warning, you're going to be using your hands. So I recommend getting some nitrile gloves or some sort of gloves. I prefer nitrile because that latex powder is gross. It smells bad and yeah, it just like irritates my hands. So you probably don't want to be covering your hands in this because it's going to make the rest of your day a lot more interesting in terms of whatever you touch is going to burn. So that's my PSA for that. The other things that I want to prepare are, you know, the Asian pear, which is the more traditional ingredient for the cabbage, Napa cabbage style kimchi. So I'm just going to peel this. I guess I didn't put gloves on now. I don't know why I did that. It's all right. So the way that we're going to trim all of this stuff for the kimchi is sort of in like what you might call like matchsticks. So trimming off both of those. I'm going to cut down one side of this. There's no seeds in there. I'm leaving the seeds in the core. And we want to kind of create little planks. So I'm going to cut it down here again. And then here I can basically just kind of create these kind of thin pieces. So that's the core. Okay, so there's one Asian pear. Probably should put that in a bowl with kind of everything else that's going to go in the traditional kimchi. So Asian pear. We're going to put one carrot in here. trim it up. I'm gonna cut right down this. This is why you need a sharp knife. I'm gonna cut down this again, lengthwise. I'm gonna just basically do it again and again. Okay, so this is kimchi 1. I'm gonna trim this piece of daikon. I peeled it. Split that long ways so we have a nice, I'm gonna cut these thin planks. And then just and then maybe half of these chives. Kind of do like a that goes right in this bowl. Okay, so in here we're going to add this beautiful slurry. Fishy, spicy, briny slurry. Adding this to, this is why you want to wear gloves, because you really probably don't want this on your hands. Like I said, it's going to get, it'll be pretty hot, and going to the bathroom later will be rather interesting. So we want to add our slurry, which is quite a lot cooler. I'm going to add about maybe just over half of this right now. Like I said, I want to kind of regulate it, and then we're just going to stir it. Oh, it looks beautiful. And this is to kind of do both my batches. One for the kale, we'll use half of it for the cabbage and half for the kale. So I am going to add a bit more chili flake. And the rest of this slurry. We have quite a bit of this beautiful, spicy kimchi paste. Oh, geez, almost lost that. A little bit more heat. We're only gonna maybe cut this in a couple pieces, you know, bite-sized pieces. Right there. This is discard. Like I said, now, you know, again, more traditional kimchi, you might not cut this. If I had a really large sort of ceramic crock, you would just take this paste and you would layer it in between each leaf, boom, 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 and kind of fold it up on itself and then put it into a jar or a ceramic container for fermentation. And just experiment. Like, you can see what you can make kimchi out of. You know, mustard greens. I think any kind of, you know, tough green that can hold up to fermentation. So that's why I think kale will work pretty well. We are going to place the cabbage in this big tub. You can see how much I added. And now you're just going to use your hands and just start to make sure every piece is covered. Be gentle. You don't have to, you know, beat the hell out of this. You're going to want to add out your veg, because all of this is also going in there. And like I said, everything should be totally coated. I'm going to need some more. Get get a little more. Boop, boop. There you go. Don't rush it, just take your time. Should be pretty bright red. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we're gonna take jars and we're gonna fill them. That's the next step here. We are just gonna basically take a handful of this kimchi that we just made and pack it into the jar. Try and be neat. If you want to use a wooden spoon, that can help. They do make wooden tampers, or like a muddler would work well too. Oh geez, I'm getting shit all over the place. But you really want to get as much in here as possible. Okay, that is a messy one, but that's pretty good. It's tight. I got shit all over the outside of it, but that's okay. Try to keep maybe a hand clean. I don't know. Oh, Jesus. A bigger jar would be better for this, just if you were wondering. And these are going to ferment for, I don't know, maybe minimum 3 days, maybe 5. We're going to keep an eye on them. I'm also going to place them in a shallow tray because they could sort of bubble over, and you don't want to have kimchi juice all over the place. So like a shallow plate or a tray would work pretty well. All right, so I wasn't thrilled with the ratio of chives that I put in here. So what I'm doing now is I just kind of went through and grabbed mostly cabbage, and I'm leaving some chives behind because I was going to put the chives in the kale anyway. So no big deal. We'll just, you know, not have to add more to the kale. Okay, maybe I'll do that to some of these as well. I might get a wooden spoon and just sort of pack it. And then I have a little weight that I'm going to put on a glass weight. You'll see. I'll show you that here in a little bit. Let me get a wooden spoon. I'm just going to kind of make sure this is packed pretty tight. Just kind of the back of the spoon. Move everything down. Get the air out. And we can add a lot more to that. This is going to create a ton of juice over the next couple days. So we're in the home stretch. I basically cut enough carrot, pear, chive for both the cabbage and the kale. I did have a small piece of fennel. I chopped that up and I threw it in here. So what we're going to do again, we're going to add this spicy kimchi paste to the kale, and we're going to kind of massage it in. We're going to fill those jars, and we're going to watch fermentation happen. Whoops, Jesus. Whoop, I left a spoon in there. Oh, I have little baby bok choy too. I just split those in half. So it looks like this is going to yield about 6 total kimchis. 3 of them are the traditional. I'm going to run 2 with the airlock and 1 with just a loose fitting mason jar cap. And I plan to do the same with this. Now, the ones that don't have the weights, I suspect that I'll probably have to just, you know, push it down daily. But that shouldn't really be that big of a problem. Just gonna fill this jar with the kale and clean these off a little bit. Some paper towel. and wipe out the outside. Get that real good. And this is where I would just add one of these weights. But I washed them. Just push it down just a little bit. Make sure that rim's pretty clean. And I washed these as well. All right, there's 6 containers of kimchi. You know, throughout the week, we'll flip the camera on, we'll talk about it, and we'll see what's going on. Hey, I just wanted to give an update about how the kimchi is progressing. It's been, I think, maybe 3 to 4 days since we made the kimchi and we put it in these jars. And like every day, every morning, I've been looking at it, making sure that all these like fermentation bubbles are happening. They're super active, which is really, really good. I've been kind of compacting them down. I have this sort of like wooden fermentation like tamper. You could just use a wooden spoon. You don't need to get something like this, though these are only a few bucks. So yeah, I just want to walk you through, see how it's going. Maybe we'll taste something. Ooh, it smells great. Let me see if I can get this weight out. If you can see all the bubbles happening here, maybe I can get a close-up of that. Oh, it's like a bit of a suction happening here. Holy smokes. Oh God. Slipping. Oh God, we're making a mess. Of course this would. Oh, here we go. Okay, beautiful. Glass weight. Again, keeping everything submerged. Notice too, I just put some paper towel on like a cheap, crummy baking sheet, just so if these things would kind of bubble over and overflow, it wouldn't be all over my counter. It would be contained, easy cleanup. So, like I said, these have been fermenting for like 3.5 or 4 days. Can you see all those bubbles? Which is great. We should probably taste it to see if we want to stop the fermentation, which if we're going to stop the fermentation, we would just put it in the fridge. I have a pair of chopsticks just because it's a little bit easier and they're kind of a better tool than a fork. Haven't tried this yet, so if it's bad, I'm not going to lie. And if it kills me, then this might be the last episode. It's crunchy, which is good. I didn't want it to get super soggy. Has a little bit of spice. Wow, that's really, really good. I'm pretty pleased with that, actually. I'm kind of surprised that this turned out as well as it did. Okay. So this is some purple kale. And it looks like I have a piece of pear there too. It's good. The texture is very different. You know, the apple cabbage is definitely like crispier. You kind of like bite through it, where like the kale is just more, I mean, it's like kale-like. So, it's good. This almost seems a little bit spicier. I don't know if it's because I made it second and there happened to be more spices in the container while I was mixing it, or if like the nature of the like kale leaf was just able to absorb a lot more spice in proportion to like the Napa cabbage. So I just really wanted you to see what's happening here. Okay, so I did put a weight in on this one, and you can see it's a little bit dry on top. So what I might do is I have a weight left from another one, but notice when I press down, you're going to see all of these bubbles rise, and that's not air. That is lactobacillus doing its thing, which is the active culture in fermentation. So those are just actual fermentation gases forming in fermentation. So since I have this and I noticed that was a little dry, I'm going to keep that weight on. That weight just provides like an even pressure. And that's it. So we kind of finished our kimchi experiment. So over the course of about 8 or 9 days, I decided to stop fermentation on some of the kimchi, the kale and the more traditional Napa cabbage one, after about 4 days. And then I let traditional Napa cabbage and a traditional kale go for about 8 days, a little bit over 7 days. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to see like if there's a big difference between the types of fermentation. I made a little bit of rice, like a little bit of a sticky rice. So I'm just gonna put some, on a plate. It's not even particularly warm, but I thought it would just, I don't know, give me something to eat the kimchi with. And I think let's do these second. Let's start with the kale. This is like the 4-day kale. And then this is the nearly 8-day kale. So they look fairly similar. This might have a little bit different of a smell. Excuse me. How the hell did I just drool? All of this making me drool, salivate. I might prefer this one. It's sort of 7 or 8 days. I don't know if one would feel like appear spicier than the other, or if the fermentation might mellow the spiciness over time. So, right there's a piece of the red kale. Maybe I'll grab some rice with it. Oops, maybe. My chopstick skills are a little better than they should be. It's good. It's much better than we tasted a couple days ago, a few days ago. The texture's better. Definitely is pretty spicy. One thing I was kind of worried about was the quantity of fish sauce that I used. I was a little bit worried that was going to be too much, and it was really going to continue to come through just as like a raw fish sauce kind of taste. It's still kind of there, but it's not way over the top. So if I would make this in the future, I might dial that back by, I don't know, maybe a third. So using basically 2/3 of what that recipe was, just to experiment. All right, so let's try the 7+ day kale. Another piece. It's interesting. It doesn't feel as spicy to me. This one is definitely mellowed out a bit more than the earlier one. They're both pretty similarly crunchy. This might be just a little bit more crunchy, the kind of 4-day. Oh. Okay, so that's the kale, which is pretty good. But more traditional kimchi, which I was most excited about. Ooh, jeez. All right, so we have the 4-day. It smells great. And then we have the 7-day, 8-day. Fairly similar smells. Let's grab a piece of the 4-day here.
spicy. Much, much spicier than the bit of kale that we ate, the 8-day-old kale. Still pleasant, crunchy, pretty tangy. The Napa cabbage also throughout this time appeared to be a lot more active fermentation over the kale. That still has a lot of crunch. I was worried that that was going to be drastically different with the longer ferment. They're both really good. Not appearing as spicy. Interesting. I kind of thought I guess a part of... There goes my phone. I guess a part of me thought that the longer it would sort of sit in the spicy kimchi mixture, the spicier it would get. But in some ways, it kind of appears more mellow, or the spiciness kind of hits you after you kind of chew it up and swallow it, where like the less fermented, shorter timed one kind of gives you that spice immediately. Okay, well, that concludes our kimchi experiment. I think I prefer the longer ferment. It seems to develop more complex flavor over time, and the fact that you're not getting hit with a really intense spice flavor in the beginning, and it kind of lingers and gets intense on the back end after you swallow it, is one more pleasing, but it allows you to sort of taste different flavors with the ingredients and the fermentation over time. So that's an experiment in the books. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy. Kimchi. I should mention, I hope you like the show. If you do, please subscribe. There's, and maybe it's on this side or this side. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends. Give me likes. And leave comments. What do you guys want to see me make? Guys and gals want to see me make. We're just here to experiment, have fun, and just show that you can make whatever you want in your own home. Great.